Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right. So what we got today is episode number 2 of All Money Ain't Good Money Global. All right. And if you guys are not familiar with the All Money Ain't Good Money Global series or the All Money Ain't Good Money series in general, make sure you guys go and check out the playlist. Make sure that you watch a couple episodes so that you guys know exactly what goes on in these streams or these videos, whichever one it may happen to be. All right. So we have a lot of global turbulence. All right. We got a lot of things going on internationally that a lot of people may not be aware of. And the reason for that is because the mainstream media does not talk very much about these kind of things. But the problem is that a lot of these kind of things are what cause prices to increase here in the United States. They're what causes wages to go up or down here in the United States. And they have a strong correlation with the stock market. And all of these things, the way that they impact the financial markets, can definitely impact your pockets. And if empowerment comes through economics, in my opinion, it's important for people to understand exactly how economics works. And that is the goal of the All Money Ain't Good Money series all across the Black Light Revelations network. So if you guys are not subscribed to all of my channels, make sure that you take a moment, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Got my man Desmond Peebles in the building. What up with it, bro? Good to see you as always. We got Carla Lockhart in the building. What up with it, Carla? Good to see you as always. Got my man Cameron Jones in the building. And also shout out to all of the replay viewers. All right. Got my man Jay Fields up in here. Got my man Carlton Way. Yeah, it's Putin's way today. You know what I'm saying? It's Putin's way today. So I don't know if anybody is aware, but a report came out. And this report came out from the UN. And this is what the UN says. A global recession warning. That means that all of the world's economies could possibly go into a recession all at the same time. Now, let me ask you guys a question. People that have been watching my content for a long time should be able to rattle this off fairly quickly. Why would that be happening? Why would that be happening? Why would it be possible for us to go into a global recession all concurrently, all right now? Give me some reasons why that may take place. A lot of things going on. You know what I'm saying? Once you guys get finished with that list, I'm going to need another list from you guys. And that list is going to be the list of how to protect yourself from one of these recessions. Because when it comes to these things, they can be very damaging. They can cause a lot of problems. They can cause a lot of problems. You know what I'm saying? So there is a ton of stuff going on. This might actually be a very, very long stream. I hope it's not, but it might be. You know what I'm saying? It might be, because there's a lot of stuff going on. So let me ask you guys some questions real quick. You guys know I like questions. What's going on internationally? Just give me a list of things that are happening internationally, not in the United States. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? What's happening? What's going on with the markets? What's going on with the countries? You guys know? I'm sure a couple people know. Don't be shy. Our ashes of recession will rise the era of AI. If you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Europe's fake money is based on our fake money. Uh-oh. What's going on with Europe's fake money? Ukraine. Johnny Midas says inflation. All of those are great answers. Gas in Europe. Facts. Stocks go down, gas prices go up. Facts. The UN sounds a global recession warning. Here's how you can prepare. The United Nations is the latest body to warn that tough economic times could be on the horizon. Earlier this week, the UN Conference on Trade and Development sounded the alarm bell on a global recession. It said that impending economic crisis could be worse than the one that we experienced in 2007 to 2009. It called on global leaders to change the direction now to avoid a worldwide financial disaster. So let me ask you guys a question. Is that the only worldwide disaster that's on the horizon? Shout out to Shatera. What up with it? Shout out to my man DJ Elmo. What's good with it? What other global disasters are on the horizon? We've got climate issues. We've got all kinds of issues. What other issues are popping off right now? It's a lot. You got plenty to choose from. The good news is that the UN does not think that a recession is inevitable. It warns that economic growth worldwide could slow to 2.5% this year and then fall further to 2.2% in 2023. Now, what's the best thing to do with your money if you think that that's a possibility? Johnny says nuclear. We'll be getting to that. Everybody drop some radiation emojis for Johnny. Carlton says monkeypox. Facts. Everybody drop some monkey emojis for my man Carlton. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys recall Joe Biden actually said that he feels that a recession is not going to occur? So now let me ask you guys a question. Does the United States operate in a vacuum where if there's a global recession, it's not going to affect the United States? If there happens to be a global recession, what will the effects on the United States look like? What will they look like? But it also says that the government can prevent the slump by changing policies. There is still time to step back from the edge of recession, said UNCTAD chief Rebecca Grinspan. According to the UN, interest rate hikes have an outsized impacts on the most vulnerable people in our society. Raising rates makes life harder for those who carry debt wherever they live around the world. Let me ask you guys a question. What did the Fed just do here in the United States? Shout out to my man Cameron Jones. What up with it, bro? What did the Fed just do here in the United States? Rather than increasing rates further, the UN wants organizations like the Federal Reserve to find other ways to curb inflation. So I find that fascinating because here in the United States, they continue to raise interest rates. And also, that's what they did in the UK, which caused the collapse of their pound. So what we have is we have international bodies going against the recommended advice from the UN, having negative effects, which I find interesting. Now, here's my question. Why is it that all of these organizations were on code when it came to dealing with C-19 in the WHO, but they don't seem to be on target or on code when it comes to dealing with the global economy? Seems like everybody's just doing whatever it is that they want to do. Why is that? Does that make any sense? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 11 people watching. Shout out and thank you to all 11 people. If everybody could smash that like button and get us to 18 likes, that'd be awesome. Yeah, they raised interest rates. I got to agree with Carlton. OnlyFans is recession proof. You know what I'm saying? The next meeting of the Federal Reserve is set for November, and many economists expect that it will announce another 0.75 interest rate hike. There's still a few factors that could prompt it to pull back on its economic tightening measures, such as change in the direction of inflation or significant drop in job openings. But right now, markets are braced for another jump in rates, even though that could also trigger a recession. So they give you some advice here on how to prepare for a recession. Now, what do you guys know about recession preparation? And shout out to Desmond and Carla for answering the Nightbot. What do you guys know about recession preparation? How do you prepare yourself for a recession? What can you do? What's the goal of preparing yourself for a recession? The last few years have been extraordinary by anyone's standards. We no sooner put the worst of the pandemic and related shutdowns behind us, then along came sky-high inflation and even more pressure on our bank balances. If your budget is already stretched thin, the idea of preparing for a recession may seem impossible. You're not alone. A bank rate survey showed that around a third of Americans are suffering from recession fatigue. Unfortunately, putting your head in the sand today could create more issues further down the road. You may not be able to completely recession-proof your finances, but any progress you can make towards the following goals now could help. So now, here's my question for everybody. If this recession does occur, what will the effects be on the racial wealth gap? Let me know what you guys think. If this recession does indeed occur, how will that affect the racial wealth gap? That's my question for you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section.
Broadly, to think that with this labor market report, with this amount of momentum in hiring and a fall in unemployment, the ship has probably sailed on 75 basis points for November. Does this mean that rates need to go higher than the 4.5, 4.75 rate that the Fed has penciled in already? I don't think there's anything obvious here that pushes that way. Now, on the one hand, for sure, we still have this stronger for longer dynamic in terms of hiring. On the other side, though, very welcome developments in wages, with the average hourly earnings coming in at 0.3. When you look forward a year, 18 months, 2 years, you're asking, where's inflation going to be there? The wage data is really central.
And it's central, and therefore...
Let me ask you guys another question. So the general consensus, shout out to Faith Enlightened. What up with it, Faith? I agree with what everybody's saying. DJ Elmo says the racial wealth gap would widen dramatically. I agree 100%. Now, here's my question. Despite the fact that we all know that the United States government writes blank checks all the time, and they have the printing presses and unlimited amounts of money and a military where they can bully anybody into whatever resources that they want, do you all think that the United States is likely to use the world recession or to use the global economy and its effects on the United States as an excuse to not pay the debt owed, aka reparations? If you guys think that that's probable, that the United States may do something like that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys feel that the United States will not do something like that, give me a thumbs down and let me know why you think they won't.
Slightly more encouraging, I take it. I mean, there was a lot of talk in reacting to today's numbers and saying, look, as you say, wages sort of moderated a bit, even with unemployment at 3.5. It seems like there's not that direct linkage between the absolute level of unemployment or labor force participation, for that matter, and the trajectory of wage growth. Therefore, maybe the Fed doesn't have to get unemployment up to whatever it is, 4.4, 4.5%, that the consensus seemed to think was necessary, correct, to restrain inflation.
So I think, look, the case the Fed's actually really been making for a while, right, is that the excess in the labor market isn't well captured in the unemployment rate. It's really more in that ratio of the vacancies to unemployed. And you'll recall that we had that good JOLTS data the other day that suggested that while that ratio is still high, it's coming down as firms reduce their overbidding for workers. That is still giving us a pathway here where things could work out okay. But, and it's a big but, as long as the momentum in the labor market is this strong and there isn't a decisive break cooler in inflation, the Fed is going to keep jamming rates higher. I'm worried that they're stuck in a hamster wheel here of doing 75s.
So now there we have it right there. The Federal Reserves in most of these countries are going to keep jamming rates higher. So based on what we know thus far, oh, look at that. My man Desmond Peoples found that radiation emoji. That's what's up. So now if they plan on putting the rates up and continuing to put the rates up, if that's what the monetary policy is going to be, then we may as well say that a global recession, more specifically one here in the United States, is probably imminent, which means that right now is the time where people should be doing what they can to try to maneuver themselves to do what? To try to do what? And I got to agree with Jay, and I also agree with Cameron. Cameron says labor force participation, not taking shitty low-paid jobs, is called labor force participation, right? And Cameron also says this is engineered and planned, and I agree with that, absolutely. If you guys haven't seen any of my videos from the Ukraine series, you guys definitely should check out that Russia Report playlist, because that lays all of this stuff out now. And basically now all we're doing is just talking about what we figured would happen during that series, as well as some more things.
Until the spot data gives them a good reason not to. And that's running the risk that they end up overdoing things.
Well, for sure. I mean, obviously they are aware, and they talk all the time about how, you know, monetary policy operates with lags. With this extra rate hike we get in November, we're going to be four.
I got to agree with my man Thomas Wilson here, and let me know how you guys feel about this comment. He says, we are already in a recession, and this is going to be the catalyst to bury us as a permanent underclass. Yes, and crying broke will be their excuse to not pay us, and I agree 110%. So with that being the case, you have to ask yourself the question, now it seems like in order for us to attack the racial wealth gap, despite the fact that we should never give up in our efforts to get reparations, it seems to me that planning outside of political parties and politics is something that people should start to take into consideration in order to narrow the racial wealth gap. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
4 percentage points of hikes in less than a year. I mean, it's obviously going to be a pretty dramatic effort here. Do you think that investors are correct to fear that they will inadvertently over tighten, or do you think that they believe they don't have a choice aside from really knocking the economy off course by constricting demand?
So I think there is a real risk of over tightening here, and it's not just about the rate that you're targeting, 4.5, 4.75, plus remember, 3 trillion of QT, almost all of which still has to work its way through the pipelines. It's, in a sense, for me, more about how quickly you're running. You're running so fast in terms of taking rates higher that you're outrunning your ability to learn from the data, because monetary policy affects the economy with a time lag. If inflation expectations were moving up, you wouldn't have a choice. But inflation expectations have actually been moving down some. So the Fed does have a choice. I would prefer that they were moving more slowly at this point. Ship sail.
So now here's my question. If the expectations for a recession are decreasing, why do they continue to keep doing the same monetary policy as if a recession is imminent? And again, I got to agree with Cameron, and shout out to my man Q Hefner. What's up with it, bro? I got to agree with Cameron. Cameron says they want us terrified of the big bad recession to put people out of work and out of their cars and houses and shift ownership entirely to the 1%. And that goes hand in hand with what Thomas said earlier. We're already in a recession, and this is going to be the catalyst to bury us as a permanent underclass. And yes, crying broke will be their excuse not to pay us. So now here's my question. Again, if you ask me, it's inevitable that in order to deal with this, we'll have to work outside of the confines of the political realm, outside the confines of the government. The best way, in my opinion, to deal with this, again, is through business, finance, economics, and our own monetary policy. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And I got to agree with DJ Elmo. One of the most important things to learn is to grow your own food and secure your shelter, e.g. have money for rent and mortgage. In the end, if the supermarket ratios or rations, what are you going to do? That's a good point. That's a great point.
For November, but look out for a really important debate at that November meeting about how to message that they do expect to slow in December.
Yeah, that's just 3.5 weeks away. You know, with this hike, presuming we get that magnitude of a hike, it seems as if it will cause the 3-month versus 10-year Treasury curve to invert. That's, as many have pointed out, sort of been a relatively reliable signal of recession. Do we put stock in that?
I think you have to put some weight on that, yes. Now, look, I prefer not to take like a really mechanical approach to mild inversion equals automatic recession, mild not inversion equals no recession. That seems too simplistic. I also think that in the current situation, we want to compare real yield curves adjusted for expected inflation as well as nominal yield curves. So the picture is a little more complex than that simple metric would suggest. But no question, recession risk, hard landing risk has been rising, is rising. It's not going to be easy to deliver a path for the economy that doesn't have a recession in 2020.
So now that's pretty interesting information. And what we need to do is we need to be able to make sure that we are okay and able to maintain, some life standards during a time like this. So what I'm going to try to do, guys, is I'm going to try to read this as fast as possible. Once I get through the article, I'm going to check out the comment section and try to get a couple of the comments real quick. And then I'm going to move on to the next one because there's a ton of articles here and they all fit together. And I want to make sure that I cover all of them. All right. So now here it says build up your emergency savings. All right. Which again, building up your emergency savings, that's assuming that you already have adequate income coming in. You know what I'm saying? That's assuming that. That's assuming that you actually have income after expenses to save. But if you guys recall from the last All Money Ain't Good Money, people up to $250,000 per year are living paycheck to paycheck. So now my question for everybody, and make sure you guys answer in the comment section, is how many people do you all feel have enough money to adequately build up an emergency savings? And my thing is, the number 2 one says pay down debt and try not to take on any more. If you are using debt, most people are using debt because they don't have enough money to pay. You know what I'm saying? With cash. Most people are not capital financiers. They're not using debt to leverage some kind of equity. They're using debt because they don't have any money. Shout out to my man Ghostwalker. What up with it, bro? So now here it says many financial experts recommend putting 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses aside to cover unexpected financial hiccups. Now here's my question. How many people do you all think have the income to be able to do that? 3 to 6 months of living expenses to cover financial hiccups. Sounds easy. That can be a lot of money depending on your lifestyle. If a recession does hit, there's a chance a lot of people will lose their jobs. So again, if you lose your job, you're not going to have any income coming in to build up emergency savings. If it happens to you, having extra cash in an accessible savings account could help you cover your rent and bills while you look for a new job. If saving up to 3 months worth of living expenses seems like an impossible prospect, save what you can. That right there, save what you can, is probably more realistic. That's probably more realistic. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we're going to get there, Thomas. You're right. Listen, it's a lot. High inflation, unemployment is going to go up after Christmas, mostly black folks, of course, and recession. They already paid out the Latinos and Asians and war. Watch China and NATO. And we'll be getting into that. If you guys agree with Thomas, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. We'll definitely be getting into that. Shout out to my man, Mike Mellis John. B1, what's up with it, bro? The current economic situation presents a kind of double whammy. People are taking on debt to keep up with rising prices. That's what I just said in that last paragraph. But the Fed's effort to stop prices from further rising makes that debt more expensive. And why is that? That's because of the interest rate hikes. When they're talking about the interest rate hikes, they're talking about increasing the prime rate, which all debt is based on. Okay, so when they're talking about that 0.75% interest rate hike, they're talking about 0.75 plus the prime rate of interest plus whatever interest is added on based on the method of debt that you're utilizing. Higher interest rates mean that you could pay higher interest rates on any loans or credit card balances. If your financial situation worsens, any monthly debt payments will eat into your available cash. If you carry high interest credit card debt, the first step is to figure out how you're going to pay it off. You might decide to focus on the smallest balance first to get a psychological boost when you pay them off. You might put all of your extra cash toward balances with higher interest rates. If the amount you owe seems impossibly high, try to break it down into achievable goals. So now here it says reach out to your network. That's assuming that you have a network. Let me ask you guys this question. How many people have a network? How many people have a network? If you guys have a network, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't have a network, give me a thumbs down. Now, when they say reach out to your network, I'm assuming they're talking about jobs. It's a lot easier to have a good old boy network when there's a bunch of good old boys that own all the companies. And now if a bunch of good old boys own all the companies, who's getting the jobs first when they get laid off? That's why it's so important for us to make sure that we start businesses and have a complete supply chain from raw inputs to a finished product. Own the entire supply chain. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man, Michael Brown. What up with it, bro? So now here it says, don't wait until you're in a tight spot to reconnect with old colleagues. It's far better to touch base with potential work contacts now while the job market is healthy than do it when you actually need help. Now, here's what I'd recommend. This is what I'd recommend, because I know that most of us probably don't have a damn network where our mom or dad or grandpa is the owner of a company. But that doesn't mean to just put your head down and not do anything. There's many places where you can get a certificate for particular trades, particular jobs, and even things with technology that can pay a decent amount of money and that are in high demand that you can get fairly quickly. Some of them as quickly as 90 days. What I would do is work on something like that as a backup to your income or your career that you have now, just in case you work in a career field that's affected by the recession. Another thing that I would do is possibly look up recession-proof professions and see which kind of job you can train for in the quickest amount of time that pays the most money. That would be something that I would recommend. You can never just give up. And another thing that you can never do is you can never expect the government or anybody to do anything. The only thing that you can ever expect is for you to maintain control of what you can control. And if you ask me, that's a way that you can kind of maintain some of that control. See that? Cameron said he just did it. The Google support course last week, and it was supposed to be a 30-week course. So that's not bad. You know what I'm saying? Always make sure that you got a backup plan, a contingency plan. You know what I'm saying? In any situation. So now here it says it's also a good time to brush up your resume and see if there's any professional skills you might be able to improve. There's a host of online courses, books, and resources available, and it shows a potential employer that you're keen to learning new things. We've survived recessions before. Well, our entire lifespan here in the United States, at least for Black people, has been a recession. You know what I'm saying? I think somebody actually said that in the comment section. So that's true. So my thing is, when it comes to us, that's one thing that we actually have a competitive advantage with. So if we have a competitive advantage with that, then you got to remember to do that SWOT analysis, because that competitive advantage, those side hustles that we do to survive, could be side hustles that make you rich during a recession, because other people that have had such a comfortable life won't know what the hell to do. Yeah, and absolutely. Look into your companies for tuition reimbursement, because a lot of them have tuition reimbursement. That's absolutely what you should be doing, Thomas, is making Amazon pay for your CDL, because they're just going to use it and get a tax write-off. You know what I'm saying? So you may as well. And if they had that available to offer, think about this. If you make whatever your salary is, whatever Amazon is paying for your CDL, add that to what your salary is, and you're getting that much more money, because that will be money coming out of your pocket. You know what I'm saying? So if they, let's say they pay $5,000 a semester, right? That's $5,000 each semester plus your yearly income. So if you take advantage of a lot of those things that your company has to offer, you're getting free money. That's almost like a boost in your salary or in your pay rate. Always take advantage of anything that your company has to offer. Certifications, continuing education, whatever, because why pay for it when they have all the money to pay for it? That's what they're there for. You know what I'm saying? So now here says the prospect of a recession can be scary, but it's worth remembering that they are part of the economic cycle and that they don't last forever. Now, one thing that is something that they don't talk about, but something that I would advise everybody to pay attention to is investing during a recession. Because if you invest during a recession, you're getting, for the most part, unless you're buying commodities, all of your assets at a discount. So then when the economic cycle ends, you have accumulated all of these assets that will eventually skyrocket back to a regular level. That could be huge depending on what you invest in. Any steps you can make today to make it easier to weather the storm, especially if you're able to earn some extra cash while the job market is strong. Even if you can't build up a big emergency fund or pay off all your debt, every dollar counts. So now here it says, let's see, yeah, I think that's it. So I think that those were some pretty good ways. These were just financial ways that you can prepare. Of course, there's other ways, you know what I'm saying? Like things that you might want to do. Make sure that you have food, you know, like canned foods and different things like that. Make sure that you have supplies, you know what I'm saying? A certain amount of supplies, a certain amount of time worth of supplies. All of those different things are things that you want to make sure that you do. You know what I'm saying? So now here, what we got is something that's going on in China. All right. Because would you guys agree that China's economy has a big effect on the American economy? If you guys would say that, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys wouldn't say that, give me a thumbs down. And that's facts. All money ain't good money. China's state banks told to stock up for yuan intervention. What do you guys think this means? China's state banks told to stock up for yuan intervention. What does this mean? That means that China's gearing up for something. What is it that China's gearing up for? I think China's economy did outgrow us, if I'm not mistaken. I think it did. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might have happened in 2018. China's central bank has asked major state-owned banks to be prepared to sell dollars. You see that? Sell dollars for the local unit in offshore markets as it steps up its efforts to stem the yuan's descent. Four sources with knowledge of the matter says. So let me ask you guys a question. If Hong Kong has a massive selling off of United States dollars, what's that going to do to the United States dollar's value? Facts. That's true, Ghost Walker. Now, my question is, if people move away from the United States dollar in mass, what is that going to do to our economy, and what's that going to do to us on an individual level? State banks were told to ask their offshore branches, including those based in Hong Kong, New York, and London, to review their holdings of the offshore yuan and ensure U.S. dollar reserves are ready to be deployed. Three of the sources who declined to be identified told Reuters. The simultaneous selling of dollars and buying of yuan could put a floor under the Chinese currency, which has lost more than 11% to the dollar so far this year and looks set for its biggest annual loss since 1994, when China unified its official market rates. The sale of this round dollar selling to defend the weakened yuan will be rather big, one of the sources say. The People's Bank of China did not immediately respond to Reuters' request for a comment. China's offshore yuan immediately bounced about 200 pips after Reuters' story before last trading at 7.1849 per dollar as of 9:35 GMT. And this article, I think, was from September 29th. While the yuan's depreciation has been gradual and in line with the decline in major currencies against the dollar, bailed by aggressive Federal Reserve monetary tightening, its decline to the weaker side of 7 per dollar has raised concerns about domestic sentiment and potential capital outflows. So now remember, the United States dollar is also partially responsible for the British pound as well. So now if the dollar is causing all of these issues globally, guys, what do you think people are going to start doing? Because the entire world is not just going to sit there and allow the United States to be comfortable with a powerful dollar while the rest of these economies suffer. Do you guys think that any of the world leaders would do that? If you guys think that the world leaders would do that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that the world leaders would do that, give me a thumbs down. And you have to also strategize, well, what is it that we think that they may do? What is it that we think that they may do? So now here it says the offshore yuan moves in lockstep with the onshore unit, but its trading volume accounts for about 70% of all yuan foreign exchange trades globally, dwarfing the volumes traded on the mainland. Chinese authorities have intervened in the past in the offshore yuan market to steer the yuan. Sources said that the intervention plan involved using state lenders' dollar reserves primarily. So what you're going to start seeing is some dollar volatility. If a lot of these countries are using the dollar to manipulate their own currency, you're going to start seeing some dollar volatility, which means that our foreign exchange rate is going to start jumping up and down. You know what I'm saying? But the total amount of dollar selling is yet to be determined, as the yuan's movements are largely dependent on the dollar moves and the Fed's tightening trajectory, the source says. So now we're talking about the Fed's tightening trajectory, right? Let me ask you guys a question about the Fed's tightening trajectory. Do you all think that the Fed will do any tightening that would be favorable to China, being that China is one of our political enemies? So do you think that might be why, even though reducing the interest rate hikes could probably be better for the global economy, do you think that that's probably why they keep hiking the interest rate anyway, because it's having a negative effect on the Chinese economy? Because remember, the United States dollar is a weapon of mass destruction. And I agree, Thomas. People should learn foreign exchange. People should learn basic financial and, economic language. You know what I'm saying? Basic graph reading, understanding supply and demand. You know what I'm saying? China burnt through 1 trillion of its official Federal Reserves to prop up the currency after a one-off 2% devaluation in 2015 that roiled global financial markets. State banks, which usually act as PBOC agents in offshore markets, are scrambling to produce more dollars in offshore markets, one of the sources said. The People's Bank of China did not respond immediately when asked by Reuters about state banks stocking up on dollars. The latest proposal follows other steps authorities have taken to put a floor under the yuan through persistently setting firmer than expected midpoint fixings, verbal warnings, and holding off major monetary easing efforts. The PBOC has also rolled out policy measures this month, such as increasing the cost of shorting the currency by lowering the amount of foreign exchange financial institutions must hold as reserves and reinstating risk reserve requirements on currencies purchased through forwards. Earlier this week, Chinese monetary authorities told local banks to receive a yuan fixing tool it abandoned 2 years ago as they sought to steer and defend the weakening currency. All right. So now what we mainly got from this article here is that the strength of the United States dollar is causing a negative effect on the Chinese currency. So now, if you guys saw the last All Money Ain't Good Money, then you guys already know what the United States dollar is doing to the British economy. All right. We're dealing with a similar issue in the UK. The collapsing pound was on the money again, an emerging market turning into a submerged market. Here's what analysts say happens next. My question, what do you guys think that the effect of this is going to be on the United States? Now, here's my question. How many people knew about this situation in the UK? If you guys knew about this situation in the UK, give me a thumbs up. If you guys did not know about this situation in the UK, give me a thumbs down. And also, if you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, make sure that you guys please take a moment and smash that like button. So now here it says Britain's currency is in trouble and things could still get a lot worse for sterling, experts report. So I thought I had, I must have refreshed the screen too much. I don't have a subscription to Fortune. But if you guys don't know about the UK collapse, just watch the last episode, the last All Money Ain't Good Money Global, and it'll tell you everything that you guys need to know about it. So the reason why I had brought that up is because there's other wars going on out there besides Russia and Ukraine. The Russia-Ukraine war is the one that the mainstream media is giving the focus to. But we also have another situation, okay? And remember, wars have a huge influence on the global economy. They have a huge influence on it. Turkey warns of another European war that could be on the horizon as Turkey hints at the possibilities of an invasion. How many people knew about this? Now, here's my question. What do you all think will be the results if something pops off with this? That's my question. If something pops off with this particular situation right here, what is that going to do to the global economy? Greece warns another European war could be on the horizon as Turkey hints at the possibility of an invasion. You guys hear anything about this in the mainstream media? More economic turmoil. If you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Greece is calling on the EU, NATO, and the UN to condemn Turkey over recent threats. Turkey's Erdogan has made veiled threats of an attack against Greece. When the time comes, we can come suddenly one night, Erdogan said on Tuesday. Greece is calling on its allies to condemn Turkey over recent aggressive rhetoric from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who has hinted at the possibility of open conflict as tensions rise between the two countries. Now, here's my question. Why is there tension between Turkey and Greece? Why is there tension between Turkey and Greece? In letters dated Monday and Tuesday to NATO, the EU, and the UN that were reported on by the Associated Press, Greek Foreign Minister Nikos Dindias called for all three institutions to rebuke Ankara over Erdogan's comments. Dindias said that allowing Turkey to continue threatening Greece would run the risk of yet another conflict in Europe, in an apparent reference to the war in Ukraine. By not doing so in time or by understanding the seriousness of the matter, we risk witnessing again a situation similar to that currently unfolding in some other part of our continent, Dindias said. This is something none of us would really wish to see. So what I find fascinating is, for the most part, when it comes to a global war or a world war, I mean, the majority of them are happening in Europe. I don't think that there's any wars going on in Asia, and there's little tribal spats and border disagreements in Africa, but, you know, nothing on the level of a global So you guys remember when the Ukraine conflict first happened and all of those reporters were outraged and, they were like, I can't believe that this is happening because this is Europe. Well, I mean, I don't understand why they don't believe that this is happening because this is Europe, because all of the most violent, bloody, and disgusting wars happen in Europe or because of Europe. Every single one. In a letter to NATO, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, the top Greek diplomat, and I find that fascinating because Stoltenberg doesn't really sound Greek, but again, we do know what Berg sounds like. So I'm curious as to how this person got this job representing Greece. What do you guys think? Shout out to my man Tilo Brown. War is absolutely a racket. It's a money maker, and that's why all money ain't good money. The Turkish attitude is a destabilizing factor for NATO's unity and cohesion, weakening the southern plank of the alliance at a moment of crisis, per the Associated Press. Though both countries are NATO members, Turkey and Greece have had a historically contentious relationship and have had a long-standing dispute over islands in the Aegean Sea, on top of disagreements over other issues such as maritime boundaries. So we have NATO on NATO crime. That's what we got popping off. We got white on white crime. You think that might have something to do with why this isn't being ran through the media? Because we've got to illegitimately look strong in the face of Putin. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of this money that we have in our economy, instead of going to our reparations, it's going to NATO, and we'll be talking about that shortly. Erdogan over the weekend accused Greece of occupying demilitarized islands in Aegean, warning that Turkey will do quote unquote what's necessary when the time comes. In what was seemingly a veiled threat of an invasion or attack against Greece, Erdogan warned that Turkey could come down suddenly one night. Look into history if you go further. The price will be heavy, Erdogan said. Oh, so he went biblical on him. He said, look into history. If you go further, the price will be heavy. You know what I'm saying? During a visit to Sarajevo on Tuesday, the Turkish leader doubled down on his threat. What I'm talking about is not a dream, Erdogan said after he was questioned about his earlier comments toward Greece. The Associated Press reported, when the time comes, we can come suddenly one night. So he said that you're not dreaming. This ain't Christopher Williams. You know what I'm saying? This ain't Christopher Williams. You know what I mean? So why is the economy, with the way that the dollar is right now, why and how would that affect jobs? That's my question. Why and how would that affect jobs? Yeah, man. Erdogan said, this ain't Christopher Williams. We're not talking about New York City. We're talking about new bombs. The dollar's gains spell earning pains. You know what I'm saying? For U.S. companies. Why? You guys got to analyze this. Why? Why would the dollar's gains spell earning pain for U.S. companies? Contraction of the money supply. Facts. The same reason why you'll be paying more money on the interest of your credit card. Inflation is going to raise the cost of living, which means that all costs are going to increase, which means that the cost of labor is going to increase also. Also, with the cost of raw materials and everything else going up, there's going to be a lot less money. So it's going to be, not only are people going to be expecting more pay, but there's going to be less money available to pay those people. Does that make any sense? Yuan. That's it. Yuan. Appreciate it, Mike. So this is one of the ways that they can quantitatively ease if they tamper with the employment. Dollars gains spell earning pain for U.S. companies. A towering rally in the U.S. dollar is expected to hit third quarter corporate earnings, potentially presenting another obstacle to stocks in a year that has experienced an already painful market decline. The dollar index, which measures the greenback's performance against a basket of peers, traded an average of 16.7% higher in the quarter that ended September 30th than in the same period a year ago, helped by a hawkish Federal Reserve and turmoil in the global financial markets that boosted the dollar's safe haven appeal. Okay. So that's another thing that's making the dollar so expensive, is that people are putting more money into the dollar and holding the dollar as a reserve currency. But what I want you guys to pay very close attention to is that this is the second article now that has also acknowledged global financial turmoil. Okay. That's what we're dealing with currently, global financial turmoil. The focus of the global financial turmoil is how that will affect the United States and also how it will affect the racial wealth gap. That is the key focus of all of this. That means a wide range of companies will likely cite the dollar's raise as a headwind to their bottom lines as corporate earnings seasons kick into gear this month. A stronger buck makes U.S. exporters' products less competitive abroad while hurting U.S. multinationals that need to exchange their earnings into dollars. The stronger dollar is one of the contributors to the notion that earnings expectations for the S&P 500 need to come down more, said Eric Knudsen, Chief Investment Officer of Neuberger Berman's multi-asset class portfolios. It's one of the factors that leads us to be more cautious on equities. Oh-Sung Kwan, U.S. equity strategist at Bank of America Securities, expects the dollar strength to cut between 5 and 6% of earnings for S&P 500 companies compared to a 2% hit last quarter. The S&P 500's foreign exposure stands at about 30%, with the technology and materials sectors the most vulnerable, Bank of America estimates. All right. Earning estimates have already fallen this year. Now, what does that mean? That's important. If earning estimates have already fallen this year, then that means it's going to be that much harder to do all of those things that they recommended to safeguard yourself from a global recession. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. As analysts account for a darkening U.S. economic outlook amid rising inflation and tightening financial conditions. So again, if we continue to listen to Joe Biden, what Joe Biden is continuing to say is that we're not heading into a recession. If we listen to economic experts say as long as monetary policy stays the way that it is with the inflation rate hikes, we're headed into a recession. Okay. So now here it says analysts expect third quarter S&P 500 earnings, which will start rolling in as the season kicks off next week, to have increased by 4.5% from a year ago. That is down from the 11.1% raise they were expecting at the start of July, according to IBES data from Refinitiv as of September 30th. A bigger than expected earnings decline could further complicate the picture for U.S. stocks. The S&P 500 is down about 21% this year. Let me ask you guys a question. What is your 401k looking like? How many people have taken a peek at their 401k? Now, my question is, after you looked at your 401k, are you happy about what you saw? That's the question. With a few investors expecting the volatility to end until there are clear signs that the Fed is getting the upper hand in the battle against inflation. I don't think that the Fed is going to get an upper hand in the battle against inflation. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that what the Fed is doing currently, I don't even think that their strategy is aimed at dealing with inflation. I think that their strategy currently is to go ahead and allow us to slip into a recession while doing whatever they can to disrupt China's economy, and also to, by proxy, disrupt Russia's economy. I don't think that any of the monetary policy efforts are actually being done right now to curtail any financial crisis that we might experience at home. What they're doing is weaponizing the economy right now. So that's one of the reasons why we keep asking this question. Well, why are they doing this and why are they doing that when the basic laws of economy would tell you to do this and tell you to do that? Well, that's because what we're dealing with is we're dealing with the economy being used as a weapon. So if the economy is being used as a weapon, you're not going to see traditional economic methods being used to regulate it. So now here it says dollar strength continues to serve as a headwind for equities, and our foreign exchange strategists do not see the strong dollar going away anytime soon, analyst at Morgan Stanley wrote. So that strong dollar right now, as we saw in that last article, is definitely not a good thing for China. So I think that despite slipping into the recession, the United States knows that it still has the ability to use the Fed to print off as much money as it wants to. I think that it's going to do that in order to subdue China's economy and also to try to negatively affect the China-Russia supply chain. So now here it says the stronger dollar has already claimed its share of victims this year. Nike, which receives more than half its revenue from outside North America, last month doubled its estimates for the currency's headwind on earnings to $4 billion, sending its shares down 13% on September 30th. Other companies that have recently warned of the dollar's impact include IBM Corporation, DuPont de Nemours, and Procter & Gamble. While companies take steps to guard their profits from big exchange rate moves by using various hedging strategies, including those that employ forwards and options, they typically hedge only about 50 to 75% of their foreign exchange exposure, said John Doyle, vice president of dealing and trading at Monex USA. To be sure, there is an upside to the greenback strengths for U.S. stocks, as companies that rely on importing goods will find their buying power has increased. So that means that if you're exporting goods from overseas, then your buying power has increased. However, people are probably not going to buy U.S. products because as a result of the dollar, they're too expensive. Okay? Because the dollar is so strong. If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make any sense, give me a thumbs down. At the same time, expectations of a rising buck make dollar denominated assets more attractive to foreign investors by assuring fears of a possible exchange rate hit when they convert assets back to their home currency. It allows foreign investors to invest in what they think is a high growth area without worrying too much about the currency, said Colin Graham, head of multi-asset strategies at Robeco Institutional Asset Management. Signs of a dollar peak, however, could push investors into currency they expect to rebound as the dollar falls. So now that's important to pay very close attention to, because if the dollar is as high as it is right now, at some point it will come down. At some point it will come down. Let me ask you guys, do you all think that the dollar is going to ride this high forever? If you think that the dollar is going to ride this high forever, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that it's going to ride this high forever, give me a thumbs down. That peak is unlikely to come in the near future, according to analysts polled at Reuters. Though the dollar index is down about 2% from its recent high, 85% of analysts polled by Reuters said that the dollar's broad strength against a basket of currencies has not yet reached an inflection point. So what that inflection point is the highest point that it'll go to before it starts to come down. Now, here's my question. When it starts to come down, do you think it's going to come down fast, or do you think it's going to come down slow? And facts. Shout out to my man, Michael R. If you guys haven't shared the stream, please make sure that you guys share the stream. Also, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, also make sure that you guys smash that like button. Similarly, analysts at UBS Global Wealth Management believe a hawkish Fed, a comparatively strong U.S. economy, and weak growth in Europe will keep the dollar elevated for the time being. Now, here's my question, guys. Let me see what you guys think here. What is the interval of time when they're talking about the time being? How long do you guys think that that's going to last? It's not going to last forever. So how long is it going to last? I think that's a good question. I think that that's something that people might want to take into consideration. We think it's too early to call a peak in the Fed's hawkishness or top in the greenback, they wrote in a recent report. So despite the fact that they don't think that it's going to come anytime soon, what we do know, which is some important information, is that it is going to come. So this is a more recent article, and I think that this is an interesting topic because this is something that we kind of brushed on. Shout out to Val. What up with it, Val? What I want to know is, what do you guys think about this? With everything else going on in the background, Saudi's not very happy with the United States oil outreach. Question: what does the end of this situation look like? That's my question for you guys. What does the end of that situation there look like? Is that something that people should be concerned about? And if it is something that people should be concerned about it, why should they be concerned about it? Saudi oil cut slaps down Biden's outreach. You guys remember when Biden was going around fist bumping people? You guys remember when he was going around fist bumping people? President Joe Biden on Thursday effectively acknowledged the failure of one of his biggest and most humiliating foreign policy gambles, a fist bump with the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, the crown prince associated with human rights abuses. Joe Biden, that's your man's. That's your man's right there. That's your man's. Biden's awkward encounter with Mohammed bin Salman in July was a humbling attempt to mend relations with the world's most influential oil power at a time when the U.S. was seeking its help in opposing Russian invasion of Ukraine and resulting surge in oil prices. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that the price of gas is supposed to increase again. Did you guys hear that? If you guys heard rumors that the price of gas is supposed to increase, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't hear that, give me a thumbs down. I actually heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard it. That fist bump 3 months ago was followed by a face slap this week from Prince Mohammed, a big oil production cut by OPEC producers and Russia that threatens to sustain oil producer Russia in its war with Ukraine, drive inflation higher, and push gas prices back towards voter angering levels just before U.S. midterms, undercutting the election prospects of Biden and Democrats. Mm, 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 mm. Shout out to my man, Ricky Jones. I agree. The Saudis have been playing the U.S. for years. Thomas says that OPEC is cutting production by 2 million barrels per day. If they cut production, what's that going to do to the demand? It's going to decrease the supply and it's going to increase the demand. And if the supply is decreased and the demand is increased, what's that going to do to the price? Biden playing 4K chess. Or not Biden, Putin playing 4K chess. Biden needs some 4K bifocals. I'm going to read this paragraph again because this is important. That fist bump 3 months ago was followed by a face slap this week from Prince Mohammed, a big oil production cut by OPEC producers and Russia that threatens to sustain oil producer Russia in its war with Ukraine, drive inflation higher, and push gas prices back towards voter-angering levels just before the U.S. midterms, undercutting the election prospects of Biden and the Democrats. Now, here's my question. Do you guys remember the Russia report? Didn't I tell you that all of this stuff that the United States thought it was going to do was going to backfire? Didn't I tell you guys that? I told you every single thing that they plan on doing is going to backfire and blow up in the United States. And we laid out exactly why. Thomas says the bump up in price this week was on the heels of that news. Yeah, I believe it. And I agree. This is all, Michael, this is all part of that never let a good crisis go to waste. This is incentivizing to go electric. Now, you'd think that the mainstream media would be talking about this stuff in more detail, but they're not. They're not. Asked about Saudi Arabia's actions, Biden told reporters Thursday that it was a disappointment and says that there are problems in the U.S.-Saudi relationship. You think? You think? Why? Here's the thought. Why don't you get your corrupt ass son to give some discounts from some of those gas companies that he gets millions of dollars from? Why don't you do that? Like, that would help everybody. That's what Saucy Santana said. Saucy Santana said, "Oh, girl, I'd rather pay $90 a gallon in gas than deal with Trump because he's so mean." And Trina said, "Mm-hmm." Facts. See, Val says, "Yes, Rob, you said this would happen. We knew Putin was prepared for U.S. sanctions." Facts. 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 A number of Democrats in Congress called on the U.S. Thursday to respond by pulling back on its decade-old provision of arms and U.S. military protection for Saudi Arabia, charging that the Prince Mohammed has stopped upholding Saudi Arabia's side of a more than 70-year strategic partnership. This right here is bad. This is big bad news right there. I don't know if that would be the strategy that I would do. Why would you do that when they're just going to turn to Russia and Russia be like, "Sure, we'll give you some hypersonic nukes, $2 a missile"? Like, why would you do that? A number of Democrats, this is Democrats, so make sure that we understand that. This is Democrats. A number of Democrats in Congress called on the U.S. Thursday to respond by pulling back on its decade-old provision of arms and U.S. military protection for Saudi Arabia. Now, here's my question. Do you guys think that it cares? All they'll say is, "All right, well, USA ain't messing with us no more. Okay, China and Russia." I wouldn't be surprised if Joe's advisor was Hunter Biden. And he's probably, you know what I'm saying, smoking a crack pipe right now. Charging that Prince Mohammed had stopped upholding Saudi Arabia's side of a more than 70-year strategic partnership. The relationship is based on the U.S. providing the kingdom with protection against its outside enemies and Saudi Arabia providing global markets with enough oil to keep them stable. calling the oil production cuts a hostile act. New Jersey Democrat Representative Tom Malinowski led two other lawmakers in introducing legislation that would pull U.S. troops and Patriot missile batteries out of the kingdom. Yeah, and I'm sure Putin will pull right up in there with some Satan IIs and some missile defense systems. So what are those called? Those Russian ones, SR-400s? And that's a good question as well, Cameron. That's my question for everybody in the comment section. Who's actually running the country? Ghostwriter says Council on Foreign Relations. What Saudi Arabia did to help Putin continue to wage his despicable, vicious war against Ukraine will long be remembered by Americans. Actually, it won't be, because I don't give a shit about it. If Putin winning the war gets the focus of American politicians back on America, I don't care. Johnny said, invest in crack futures. Invest in crack futures. Invest in crack futures. Hunter just got out of rehab again. Facts. If you guys agree with Johnny, give me a thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? If you guys disagree with Johnny, give me a thumbs down. What would you recommend? Meth? You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be meth issues. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said, adding, we are looking at all the legislative tools to best deal with this appalling and deeply cynical action. The U.S. has no plans at the moment to withdraw military personnel or equipment from Saudi Arabia, State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel said on Thursday. So let's listen to this idiot here and see what he says. So, you know, we got oh, look, we only got 5 seconds worth of ads. If you guys haven't smashed the like button, please help your boy out by smashing that like button.
What's your reaction to the OPEC Plus decision?
Disappointment, and we're looking at what alternatives we may have. Don't hurt him, man. Don't, you're knocking him through the wire.
It's just always bossing somebody around. Who is you talking to? Don't hurt him. Now you're knocking him through the wire. Motherfucker, is your diaper on too tight or something?
Alternatives we may have. Don't hurt him, man. Don't, you're knocking him through the wire. There's a lot of alternatives. We haven't made up our mind yet.
G20 summit, sir. Will you meet President Putin at the G20 summit or APEC summit?
That remains to be seen. A lot. No, the trip was not essentially for oil. The trip was about the Middle East and about Israel and rationalization of positions. But it is a disappointment, and it says that there are problems.
Are you worried about
He better be careful backing up like that. He better be careful backing up like that. He too old. He fall down and back up. You know what I'm saying? He might not get back up. Congress and the administration were reacting to the announcement of a bigger than expected cut of 2 million barrels a day by OPEC Plus group led by Saudi Arabia and Russia. So that's what who was it that said that? That's what Thomas Wilson said earlier. So shout out to Thomas Wilson. Make sure you guys drop some radiation emoji for Thomas in the chat. Congress and the administration were reacting to the announcement of a bigger than expected cut of 2 million barrels a day by OPEC Plus group led by Saudi Arabia and Russia. The production cut is likely to drive up prices. Okay? Bolstering the oil revenue Russia is using to keep waging its war in Ukraine, despite U.S.-led international sanctions and further shaking a global economy already struggling with a short energy supply. So, again, Russia has been preparing for this for decades. They've been preparing to the point that they've got it down to a science where any economic move that the United States at this point in the United States existence does against Russia causes the United States and the Western economy some harm. And I don't know if the United States and the rest of the Western countries are in denial of that or what. But my question to everybody watching is, can you guys see it? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to my man Michael R for rejoining the membership. Oh, the reason why you got why it unjoined everybody is because the channel had gotten demonetized for a while. You know what I'm saying? Now we got the monetization back on. So it should give you your membership badge at the same amount of time that you had when you had it before. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you guys show some love to Thomas. And anybody else that wants to join a membership, it definitely helps the channel. You know, you got your boy has some big goals, and I want to bring you guys a lot of content. So the memberships and Patreon help. It's only 99 cents for the first level, and you get a free super chat every month. So the bots put the links for the membership in the chat. Also, if there's a join button visible, you can hit the join button, but it's only 99 cents. Who actually misses 99 cents? You know what I'm saying? After I just told you guys, make sure you invest your money and save it because the recession is coming. You know what I'm saying? Saudi oil minister Abdul Aziz bin Salman, a half-brother of the crown prince, insisted at the OPEC Plus session that there was no belligerence in his action. The administration says it's looking for ways to blunt the impact of OPEC's decision and notes that the cost at the pump has still dropped in the recent months. So now they're looking at these short-term decreases in price. I don't know why they're looking at it. What they need to be doing is they need to be projecting outward how much they think that a cut of 2 million barrels per day in production is going to cause. They need to see how much of an increase that's going to cause in the gas price. Now, here's my thing. How many people have Cash App? If you have Cash App, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't have Cash App, give me a thumbs down. The reason I'm asking about your Cash App is no, I'm not like other YouTubers. I talk about the YouTube fundraising when somebody joins a membership or gives a super chat and at the beginning of the stream. I'm sure you guys can read the bots and you guys do what you want to do. The reason why I ask about Cash App is because you can check the prices of oil stocks on there. And if you get into some oil stocks and you have some money reserved and put away and you just hold it there, if those gas prices raise up to be about $12 a gallon, that'll probably help you deal with some of the inflation. Now, remember, this ain't financial advice. I'm just saying, might be something you want to look into. And when I say look into it, I mean do your own research. You can get energy stocks on Robinhood. You can get them on all different kinds of apps. So don't just use Cash App for sending money to your favorite YouTuber. Use Cash App to stack money for yourself too, because you can do it right there. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says foreign arms sales ultimately are Congress to approve or disapprove. A U.S. official argued on Thursday, so it was up to lawmakers to choose whether to try to make good on cutting U.S. weapons to Saudi Arabia. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the government's take on the matter. Oh, you know what, guys? Let me make this announcement real quick. Michael just made the 20th member. So I'm going to be able to start doing members-only streams on this channel. So I'm going to think of some good members-only content for you guys for this channel, and I'll try to start that in the next week or two. If you guys think that sounds good, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. So now here it says the official called Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia and meeting with Middle East leaders there steps towards building relations across the region. And Biden's meeting with the Crown Prince was in line with another face-to-face session with allies, rivals, and adversaries, including Putin. As a candidate, Biden had made a passionate promise to make the Saudi royal family a pariah over human rights abuses, especially Saudi officials' killing of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018. The U.S. intelligence community formally concluded that Prince Mohammed, who wields much of the power in Saudi Arabia instead of his aging father, King Salman, had ordered or approved of Khashoggi's killing. Biden, as president, disappointed rights activists when he opted not to penalize Prince Mohammed directly, citing his senior position in the kingdom and the U.S. strategic partnership with Saudi Arabia. So as you guys can see, this is another instance right here directly where all money ain't good money. Yeah, that's a fact. You talking about the bond rating, the credit rating? Yeah, absolutely, DJ Omo. All money ain't good money. So you guys see, if you got enough money, you can get away with murder. But we all already know that. Then Russia's February invasion of Ukraine worsened an already tight global oil market, driving up gasoline prices and inflation overall. Ally Israel and some in the administration argued that smooth relations between Riyadh and Washington had to be the U.S. priority. So look, pay very close attention to who's saying that. Ally Israel and some in the administration. So somebody asked a question about who's running the country. Sounds to me like there's where a lot of influence is coming from. Has anybody ever looked up how many dual citizens are in our government? Somebody should look that up sometime. Dual citizens in Congress. Somebody should Google that and click on the first thing and see what it is that they say. As U.S. prices at the pump rose and Biden's poll ratings fell further, senior administration officials began shuttling to the Gulf, seeking to soothe Prince Mohammed's anger at Biden's campaign and remarks the U.S. findings in Khashoggi's killing. That led Biden paying his first visit to president to Saudi Arabia in July, putting presidential prestige behind the attempt to get U.S.-Saudi relations and the global oil supply back on sturdier ground. Now, why do they keep calling this U.S.-Saudi relations and the global oil supply? I don't think that any of this would have anything to do with the globe. I think that this would just have a negative effect on the United States. Does that make any sense? Think about that, guys. Why do they keep calling this the global oil supply, as if the global oil supply is just, the United States is ultimately responsible for the entire thing? Let me ask you guys this question. Are they? You know what I'm saying? Are they? In Jeddah, Biden stopped short of offering a much anticipated handshake. Instead, Biden, looking frailer and more stooped in comparison with Prince Mohammed, who is in his late 30s, leaned in to offer an out-of-character fist bump. Prince Mohammed reciprocated, any smiles on the two men's faces as their knuckles were fleeting. So I don't think we need to read the rest of this because this is just filler and it's basically just a recap of this failed meeting on foreign policy. Basically, the situation that we're dealing with is as a result of Joe Biden dropping the ball. What we're now going to be dealing with is higher gas prices. Okay. Now, why are we worried about that? Why are we worried about that? We're worried about that because this is all money ain't good money. And when it comes to all money ain't good money, one of the things that we do on this channel is we keep a running tab of where the money that they claim they don't have for our reparations is going. You guys think that's a good idea? I think that's a good idea. Val and Carla said that we should start a think tank. So I figured I'd try to do what I can to help with that. Shout out Shout out to Val and Carla. You know what I'm saying? So let's see here. Oh, Carla says there's 76 members of Congress with the dual citizenship. Well, I'll be gosh darn. How many people knew that? How many people knew that? That's a lot. I mean, if you have that many people in the government with dual citizenship, I mean, how do we guarantee their loyalties are with the United States? Huh. I have no idea what made me ask you to Google that. Just a random thought. I got one more random thought. You guys ready for it? I got one more random thought. Okay. When you happen to look, did they happen to be dual citizenships all to the same country? Possibly a country that we mentioned before. Shout out to my man Ghost Rider. Take it easy, bro. Their loyalty isn't with the U.S. It definitely is in question if you got citizenship to two places. Something to think about.
Today, I am proud to announce a new security assistance package to provide Ukraine with more weapons, ammunition, and equipment that its forces are using so effectively on the battlefield. This authorization of a presidential drawdown of security assistance valued at up to $625 million will contribute to meeting Ukraine's critical defense needs. It is the Biden administration's 22nd drawdown of equipment from DoD inventories for Ukraine since August of 2021. The capabilities in this package are tailored to meet Ukraine's immediate needs, the highlights of which include 4 high-mobility artillery rocket systems, or as you know them, HIMARS, and associated ammunition, 200 Max Pro mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, which provide Ukraine with a resilient capability for transporting troops in heavily mined terrain. Ukraine has demonstrated the ability to use these capabilities to degrade Russian logistics and command and control, creating opportunities for Ukraine to maneuver and to advance. This has created, as Secretary Austin said recently, a change in battlefield dynamics. Even as the Russian government moves legislation today to claim parts of Ukrainian territory illegitimately, the reality on the ground is that the Ukrainian armed forces continue to reclaim territory and to consolidate their gains.
So, question. How much do you guys think that this is going to cost? Let me see some figures in the comment section. Shout out to my man Ronnie. What up with it, bro? How much is this going to cost? So much for we don't have any money. Shit. So much for we don't have any money. I thought we didn't have any money. Tilo says billions. If you guys agree with Tilo, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed that like button, please make sure you guys smash that like button. We are getting there as far as getting close to that 100 likes per stream. Look at the last couple streams that we've been doing. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't get there without you guys. So shout out to everybody for helping get us very, very close to our goal. Carlton says $4 billion. I don't know why we're giving Ukraine anything. Now, this is October 4th, okay? This is 5 days ago. So this is fairly new news, right? U.S. President Joe Biden promised a new $625 million security assistance package to Ukraine on Tuesday, prompting a warning from Moscow that such a move risked a direct military clash between Russia and the West. That's nice. What do you guys think about that? Michael says that we're already in over $64 billion and it's costing us $3 billion a month in economic aid alone. Let me ask you guys a question. Is that helping or is that hurting our economy? And what is that also doing for the probability of us being able to nail down reparations? That's my question. That's the question, ladies and gentlemen. That's the question. What do you guys think? So now here it says the U.S. package would include high mobility artillery rocket system launchers used in Ukraine's successful counteroffensive that has recently forced Russian troops into a retreat. Yeah, they retreated right to get a pen and paper so they could annex parts of the country. Why do we keep hearing all these stories about how Russia's getting their asses kicked and then Russia just says we're claiming this part of the country, we're claiming that part of the country? Usually you don't just claim a part of a country if you get your asses whipped. So that's something that I've been asking for quite some time, and I can't seem to get a discernible answer about. And I agree, Val. That's crazy. We could make a lot of improvements with that money in our community. That only means that we have to generate it ourselves. And once we generate it ourselves, all of the assets that we create from that generation of that money, we have to use that to pound the reparations out of the United States. In a telephone call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and President and Vice President Kamala Harris, Biden underscored that Washington would never recognize Russia's annexation of Ukrainian territory, the White House said in a statement. Yeah, kind of like how they don't recognize Crimea, like Crimea River. Biden pledged to continue supporting Ukraine as it defends itself from Russian aggression for as long as it takes. So that means that this could possibly never end. Maybe it'll end if there's somebody else in office. What do you guys think that this is doing for the probability of Biden getting elected president again? Do you guys want to be in a war with Russia? If anybody is thrilled about being in a war with Russia, give me a thumbs up. If you're not thrilled about being in a war with Russia, give me a thumbs down. I'm not very thrilled about that. Not something that I really feel like dealing with. And I got to agree with Michael. Now we know why we pulled out of Afghanistan. Facts. The aid package is the first since Russia's most recent declared annexation of Ukrainian territory and the second presidential drawdown authority since Ukraine's large battlefield gains in mid-September. In a strongly worded response, Russia's envoy to the United States warned that Biden's offer fueled the danger of a direct military clash between Russia and the West. What does that mean? This is something that people really need to pay very close attention to, that the media is not giving very much attention to. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, please make sure you take a moment smash the like button, help the channel out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you hit the bell icon twice. On the Telegram messaging app, Ambassador Anatoly Antonov urged Washington to stop provocative actions that could lead to serious consequences. Now, my question is, what are these serious consequences? We're already dealing with the consequence of the economy failing. What are the other serious conversation or the other serious consequences that they're talking about? Yeah, I agree. Last time Russia annexed some parts of Ukraine, it stuck. You know what I'm saying? It's stuck. So now here it says we perceive this as an immediate threat to the strategic interest of our country, he said. Russia's declared annexations last week followed what it called referendums in occupied areas of Ukraine. Western governments in Kyiv said that the votes breached international law and were coercive and non-representative. The State Department said in a release the package includes 4 HIMARS launchers and associated rockets, 32 howitzers, and 75,000 rounds of ammunition, 200 mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, and Claymore anti-personnel mines made by Lockheed Martin Corporation. I wonder what their stock price is doing right now. Anybody want to take a quick look at the Lockheed Martin stock price? Let me take a quick look real quick. Oh man. They're one of the few people that are in the green. Lockheed Martin. One of the few that are in the green. Can you imagine that? Now let me ask you guys a question. Why would Lockheed Martin's stock price be in the green? Shout out to Michael R. Everybody make sure you guys show Michael R some love. $403.96, and it's up 1.09%, or 1.09% today. And as you guys can see, since November 21st, there's been a significant increase. See that way down here, it was $331. It's increased about $100, and it's been staying up around this $400 mark. What does that tell you? That should tell you a couple of things. One thing that it should tell you is that all money ain't good money. Do you think that that's good money? Now, let me ask you guys a question. Who do you think owns a lot of stock in Lockheed Martin? Yeah. See, Val got it. The U.S. gives aid to Ukraine, and Ukraine has to use that money to get equipment from Lockheed Martin. And then when Lockheed Martin gets that money, shareholders get dividends and capital gains. So the military-industrial complex is winning. I haven't heard that term, military-industrial complex, in a very long time. And I find it interesting that I haven't heard that term in a very long time when we're on the brink of world war. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why do you guys think that we haven't heard that term? Why haven't we heard that term? The military-industrial complex. You guys remember, who was it? President Eisenhower, who said The world needs to beware of the military-industrial complex. You guys remember that? The military-industrial complex. Do you guys think that the global economy is a part of the military-industrial complex? If you guys think that the global economy is a part of the military-industrial complex, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that, then give me a thumbs down. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got it all wrong. So now, do you guys think that all of this is all working together? Recent developments from Russia's sham referenda and attempted annexation to new revelations of brutality against civilians in Ukrainian territory formerly controlled by Russia only strengthens our resolve, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said in a statement. Look at this. Last week, United States unveiled a $1.1 billion arms package to Ukraine. So I want you guys to tally this up. How many amounts of money have we talked about so far? Last week, the United States unveiled a $1.1 billion arms package for Ukraine. Were you guys aware of that? Which included 18 HIMARS launcher systems, accompanying munitions, various type of counter-drone systems, and radar systems. But last week's aid package was funded by the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, meaning that the government has to procure the weapons from industry rather than pulling them from U.S. weapon stocks. The United States has now pledged 20 HIM launchers to Ukraine using PDA. Now, here's my question. Where is the money coming from that funds the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative? Have you guys ever heard of the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative? Where's the money coming from that funds that? Yeah, Halliburton, that's old school facts, Val. Mainstream media stopped using it because blankety blank told them because of recruiting shortfalls. Yeah. Tech is derived from DOD. It's all planned. Gotta agree with Cameron. Gotta agree with Ronnie. So, what now? See, these are the questions that we have to ask. Now, what I want everybody to see, do you guys see how fast they gave Ukraine this money? Just last week, we gave Ukraine $1.1 billion. This week, we're giving them more money. This announcement would mark more. Are you guys ready for this? This announcement would mark more than $16.8 billion worth of U.S. security assistance since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th. Now, I want to see something here. February 24th. Now, look at this. I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. We're done with this article here. I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. Do you guys see that chart? I'm going to move it over. You guys see that chart? Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to look at the bottom. Look at this x-axis down here. All right, you see? This is November, December, January, February. Man, look where the price went to in February, right at the end of February, right before March. Let me ask you guys a question. Isn't February 24th right before March? It's about 4 days before March 1st. So now you see we're riding down here at about 386, and then boom, soon as Ukraine goes into Russia, now we're up to now we're up to 455. And now we're back down to 403. So we got to bump that back up. What do you guys think? Is that a conspiracy theory? Is that a conspiracy theory or no? Now, did you guys know that the government was about to shut down over Ukraine? If you guys knew that the government was about to shut down over Ukraine, give me a thumbs up. If you guys did not know that the government was about to shut down over Ukraine, give me a thumbs down. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Don't try not to laugh, okay? When is the last time the government shut down over reparations? When is the last time that the government shut down over reparations? Has it ever? I mean, you know how important we are. You know what I'm saying? Facts. Never. I want you guys to check this out real quick. This is Nancy Pelosi, Democrat.
This legislation ensures that full government funding through December 16th, giving appropriators more time to reach bipartisan bicameral agreement on funding levels for the upcoming fiscal year. And includes critical funding to support the Ukraine to respond to natural disasters.
You guys hear that? Nothing about reparations. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why are Roland Martin, Tiffany Cross, MSNBC, Joy Reid, all of these clowns? There's nothing in any of this funding for any of us. So what are these people waving their fingers at, telling us to go to the booth and vote for? For what? She just read off a whole bunch of shit that didn't have anything to do with me, but my money is going to be coming out of my pocket going into that. So now my question is, what kind of logical sense does any of what these idiots that you see on TV tell you to do? Does any of it make any kind of sense whatsoever? If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make any sense, give me a thumbs down. That's a great question. When is the last time the Senate Majority Leader said the word reparations? Who is the Senate Majority Leader? Is it Mitch McConnell? I think the last time he said reparations was when he said he wasn't giving anybody any.
This legislation ensures that full
I'm telling you guys, we're not going to ever be given them. We're going to have to extract them. We're going to get them. They're going to be gotten. They're not going to give them to us voluntarily. We're going to have to get them the same way that Russia is getting Ukraine.
This legislation ensures that full government funding through December 16th, giving appropriators more time to reach bipartisan, bicameral agreement on funding levels for the upcoming fiscal year, and includes critical funding to support the Ukraine, to respond to natural disasters, and to advance many additional key priorities. I thank the Madam Chair, Rosa DeLauro, Chair of the Appropriations Committee, for her strong, values-driven leadership to bring forth this necessary legislation. As I always say, as an appropriator myself, left to their own devices, the appropriators will find a bipartisan path.
They will find a bipartisan path.
Sarah buys.
What do you guys think about that? We'll find a bipartisan path. Oh, we know. We know. The U.S. avoided a government shutdown Friday as the House passed a Senate-approved stopgap bill that will keep funding federal agents and provide another $12.35 billion in aid for Ukraine. Man, it must be nice. The 230 to 201 vote ensured federal operations will continue through December 16th, allowing for more time for Congress to set spending levels for the 2023 fiscal year, which starts Saturday. President Biden signed the measure into law Friday evening. So now why do we accept these answers? And I agree. Let's extract them. Facts. I agree with Val. If you guys agree with Val, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with Val, give me a thumbs down. Carlton says, Rob, a lot of us don't want to accept that reality, though. We want reparations. That means some of us going to have to bleed. Facts. Not just bleed, probably die. But that right there shows you the mentality of how people feel about their legacy. Because you're not worried about getting hurt or death if you're dealing with a legacy, because your legacy will always live on because you'll be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mentality that people need to develop. Oh, I got a live stream planned for that tomorrow. I got a live stream planned for that tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Don't even get me started on that nonsense. Passage of the legislation allowed lawmakers to return home to campaign before the November 8th midterm elections, which will determine who controls Congress for the next 2 years. The House is not due back in session until November 13th. I want you guys to pay very close attention to these numbers. The Ukraine assistance includes $3 billion to purchase weapons and other military aid and training through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative as the country continues its 7-month-long war with Russia. About $1.5 billion will be spent to replace military equipment the Pentagon sent Ukraine from its own stocks. So they're going to be spending that entire $1.5 billion, or probably most of that $1.5 billion, with Lockheed Martin. Facts. Crook Pelosi and her stupid drunk ass husband. So now here it says the bill guarantees that we have the means to continue the important work we are doing to help the middle class and working class families with the cost of living. What work are they doing to do that? What work are they doing to do that? What work is the United States doing to help middle and lower class families, other than tearing the economy apart and making inflation so damn high that you can only afford a half a gas tank? Are you hearing what these people are telling themselves? Support vulnerable Americans by keeping roofs over the heads of millions of families and food on the table. Uphold our commitment to our veterans and strengthen our national security, said House Appropriations Committee Chair Rosa DeLauro. Yeah, none of that's true. Also included in the legislation is millions of dollars in funding to address devastation from natural disasters and extreme weather events. What about shit going on in Jackson, Mississippi? Look at this, look at this, look at this. Part of that funding includes $20 million for the Army Corps engineer projects to fix an ongoing Jackson, Mississippi water crisis and upgrade the city's water and wastewater infrastructure. None of that money is going to do anything, and Jackson, Mississippi is still going to be dealing with all of that problems that they have going on down there, and somebody's going to go to vacation on that money. In the wealthiest nation in the world, the bare minimum everyone deserves is drinking water that is clean and safe, she says. This bill gets us one step closer to that minimum. So they're very, very focused on making sure that those people only have the minimum. And as far as only having the minimum goes, we still have an ongoing water crisis in Flint, Michigan. I agree, Carlton. Maxine Waters and Pelosi are the same person. I've seen black people and white people look alike before. And I'm telling you, Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters look alike. Them motherfuckers look alike. I don't care what anybody says. They look alike. The House approved another $12 billion in military aid for Ukraine. Now, this is interesting. I'm gonna have to put this. I'm gonna have to use this for tomorrow's stuff that we're talking about here. But it looks like people are outraged about this marijuana conviction thing because it's pandering. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be anything that does anything significant. It's just pandering. We need to start a super PAC, and we need to also have a think tank. I'm telling you, and the think tank needs to come up with policy goals. Now look at how this looks. The Senate approved the bill 72-25 after Senator Joe Manchin dropped his effort to tie energy projects into the legislation. Earlier, he had proposed a contentious amendment that would have tied in a provision to speed the permitting process for the 303-mile Mountain Valley natural gas pipeline between his home state and Virginia. Okay. So this is more money that the United States is spending, and you see where it's going. The problem is that it's going towards continuing this effort that is already causing issues with the global economy. It's already causing issues with the global economy. Now we're going to come back. We're going to come back to Russia. We're going to take a quick break. And we're going to talk about what's going on with North Korea. We haven't heard anything about North Korea lately, have we? The word salad, this is all the Democrats say every election year. Facts. And they need to be held to the fire for it. I agree with Val. If you guys agree with Val, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Val says, let's take some of that military aid money and fix Jackson and Flint's water. How about that? Facts. Why don't we get to vote where our tax dollars go? Why do we just pay taxes and they spend the money? North Korea says U.S. carrier return aggravates tension. Did anybody know about this? I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but North Korea just recently sent a couple missiles over Japan. How many people were aware of that? If you guys were aware of that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys were not aware of that, give me a thumbs down. this isn't a good situation because we don't need to be having any kind of military escalation with anybody. We got a lot of we got a lot of issues going on here on our own. You know what I'm saying? We definitely do not need to be having any issues going on with North Korea. North Korea warned Saturday that the U.S. redeployment of an aircraft carrier near the Korean peninsula is causing a considerably huge negative splash in regional security as it defended its recent missile tests as a righteous reaction to intimidating military drills between its rivals. How many people knew about this? Yeah, they are both from California. I heard that Gavin Newsom was related to Nancy Pelosi. The North Korean Defense Ministry statement came a day after the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan began a new round of naval drills with South Korean warships off the peninsula's east coast. The Reagan and its battle group returned to the area after North Korea fired a powerful missile over Japan earlier this week to protest the carrier group's previous training with South Korea. The Reagan's redeployment is an event of considerably huge negative splash to the regional situation, an unidentified spokesman at the North Korean Defense Ministry said in remarks carried by the state media. The armed forces of North Korea is seriously approaching the extreme worrisome development of the present situation. Now, my question for you guys is, what do you guys think about this particular situation? What impact, if any impact, will this have on anything? He also called Reagan's return a sort of military bluffing to issue a warning over North Korea's righteous reaction to the extremely provocative and threatening joint military drills of the U.S. and South Korea. Now, let me ask you guys this. Does it seem like the United States is starting to spread itself very thin? If it seems like the United States is starting to spread itself very thin as far as the military being all over the place and, sending money here and sending resources there, issuing threats here and issuing threats there. If you guys think that the United States is doing a little bit too much, doing a little bit too much to the point where it might be putting itself in a vulnerable situation, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't feel that that's what's going on right now, give me a thumbs down. Honestly, if you ask me, it seems to me very obvious that the United States is spreading itself way, 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 way too thin. North Korea regards U.S. South Korean military exercises as an invasion rehearsal and is especially sensitive if such drills involve U.S. strategic assets like an aircraft carrier. North Korea has argued it was forced to pursue a nuclear weapons program to cope with U.S. nuclear threats. U.S. and South Korean officials have repeatedly said they have no intentions of attacking the North. In the past 2 weeks, North Korea has fired 10 ballistic missiles into the sea in 5 launch events, adding to its record-breaking pace of weapons tests this year. The recent weapons tests include a nuclear-capable missile that flew over Japan for the first time in 5 years and demonstrated a range to strike the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam and beyond. Earlier this year, North Korea tested other nuclear-capable ballistic missiles that placed the United States mainland and its allies in South Korea and Japan within striking distance. The U.S. mainland. Now, this is North Korea that has these capabilities. Something to think about. North Korea's testing spree indicates its leader, Kim Jong-un, has no intention of resuming diplomacy with the U.S. and wants to focus on expanding his weapons arsenal. But some experts say Kim would eventually aim to use his advanced nuclear program to wrest greater outside concessions, such as recognition of North Korea as a legitimate nuclear state, which Kim thinks is essential to getting crippling UN sanctions on his country lifted. So now, again, you see that the UN has sanctions on North Korea. Now, my question is, what is it that you guys think that those sanctions on North Korea is doing to North Korea? What do you guys think that those sanctions are doing to North Korea's economy? The Reagan Carrier Group's latest training with South Korean Navy is to end Saturday. The South Korean officials recently said North Korea was also prepared to test a new liquid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missile and a submarine-launched ballistic missile while maintaining readiness to perform its first underground nuclear test since 2017. It seems like North Korea is not playing. That's what it seems like. What do you guys think? There goes that USS Ronald Reagan. All those planes on it. Yeah, I'd be kind of upset if that thing was in my backyard. So they're not even recognizing North Korea and North Korea's nuclear capabilities as a threat. Okay. They're not even recognizing that as a threat. They are recognizing Russia as a threat. Okay. So now we all know that Putin has annexed these Ukrainian regions. You guys are all aware of that, right? Now, I don't know why. But Joe Biden has put out a warning. And the warning that he put out is that the United States will protect Ukraine at all costs. Biden warns Putin that the U.S. will defend every inch of NATO land. Now, we just talked about Greece and Turkey and the war that they're about to be in with each other. Both of those are NATO countries. What is Joe Biden going to do about that? Biden warns Putin that the U.S. will defend every inch of NATO land after Ukraine annexation. Now, this is just Biden talking. Nothing's going to happen. That land is already lost. If you guys think that the United States is going to go storming in there and reclaim that Ukrainian land back from Russia, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that that's going to happen, give me a thumbs down. Me personally, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that that would be too wise. NATO against NATO. Facts, AB. I don't think that would be very wise at all. Okay. So now here it says President Biden on Friday warned Vladimir Putin that America and its allies are fully prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory after the Russian tyrant claimed to annex 4 Ukrainian regions. Mr. Putin, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, Biden said at the conclusion of remarks focused on Hurricane Ian, every inch. Biden also, for the first time, publicly declared the disabling of the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipelines under the Baltic Sea to be a deliberate act of sabotage, but stopped short of explicitly pointing the finger at the Kremlin. Putin signed agreements Friday to absorb Ukraine's Kherson, Zaporizhia, Luhansk, and Donetsk regions into Russia after the Kremlin claimed residents in the partially occupied areas voted almost 100% in favor of it. Putin called for the referendum results to be treated with respect in a fiery speech, saying also, history has called us to a battlefield to fight for our people, for the grand historic Russia, for future generations. The Russian strongman even menacingly said that the United States, which is bankrolling Ukraine's stiff resistance, set a precedent in using nuclear weapons and accused the West of sheer Satanism for offering sex changes to children. Those are kind of two unrelated things, but I mean, I don't disagree with either of them. You all use nuclear weapons first, and you all offer sex change operations to kids. A little bit of a flight of ideas there. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's how it is when you lose your temper. You're all over the place. And sometimes you just get mad about unrelated shit. You know what I'm saying? And your mama a bitch too. Like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Maine. So now here it says Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, said Friday at the White House that there is a risk given all the loose talk and nuclear saber rattling from Putin. The fact that he's using words like Satanism is, to me, precisely the kind of over-the-top rhetoric and ranting we hear from someone who has no basis to justify these colonial imperial land grabs, Sullivan told reporters. The United States is a colonial imperial land grab. The entire country is an actual colonial imperial land grab. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying, Val. Like, I mean, I can't disagree. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like, like I had a bad day at work, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't stand my boss, and fuck slushies too. Like, all right. We're just getting it all off our chest. Okie dokie. You know what I'm saying? The Russian leader launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24th, which is the day that Lockheed Martin stock skyrocketed, purporting to protect the rights of Russian speakers after 8 years of low-intensity fighting waged by pro-Russia separatists in Donetsk and Luhansk. Of course, during this entire time, the Azov battalion was doing absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? They weren't doing anything. You know what I mean? They weren't doing a damn thing. In 2014, Biden was vice president. Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine, also following a disputed referendum in the chaotic aftermath of a pro-Western uprising in Kyiv. America and its allies are not going to, let me emphasize, are not going to be intimidated and are not going to be intimidated by Putin and his reckless words and threats, Biden said on Friday. He's not going to scare us or intimidate us. Putin's actions are a sign that he's struggling. Okay. Let me ask you guys a question. If Putin's actions are a sign that he's struggling, what are falling up a stairway and falling off of a bike signs of? I think it's just WS propaganda. I don't understand. I mean, when you're losing, if you're getting your ass kicked like that, for one, you would leave, and for two, you really wouldn't keep asking for more weapons. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be over with. you don't really hear about Russia begging China and all these other places for weapons. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like Zelensky, he'll come on the Zoom call. His hair is all matted to his face. His face is all red. You know what I'm saying? I need more weapons. You know what I'm saying? For what? Motherfuckers getting blown up left and right over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, but y'all winning though. All right. All right. Biden ridiculed the Russian leader's theatrical annexation event hours earlier and vowed to get to the bottom of the leaks to the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipelines, which threatened to cause an energy crisis in Western Europe. The sham routine he put on this morning that is showing the unity and people holding hands together. Well, the United States is never going to recognize this, Biden said. That must have triggered Biden because it must remind him of the fake ass shit that we have going on over here. You know what I'm saying? That shit must have triggered Biden's bitch ass because it reminded him of some shit that he don't like looking at here. You know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, the world is not going to recognize it either. He can't seize his neighbor's territory and get away with it. It's as simple as that. We're going to stay the course. We're going to continue to provide military equipment so that Ukraine can defend itself and its territory and its freedom, including additional resources that the Congress is going to give me today of $13 billion more to help Ukrainians defend themselves and fight back. In addition to incoming tranche, Congress approved $40 billion in Ukraine war aid in May. I've been in close touch with our NATO allies who are united in our resolve to take on Putin's aggression, Biden said. I want to know how this benefits the citizens of the United States. Maine says that Russia is losing, by the way, though. The Ukrainians hit the weak side of the territories Russia occupied. Is that part of that thing with that bridge that got blown up? What I want, and I agree, nothing. It doesn't do any. So my question is, if this is doing nothing for us, why is our tax money being spent on this nonsense without our authorization? See, like what I have, one of the things that I have a big problem with is I have a big problem with the fact that they don't, we don't have any input in what they spend our tax money on. The only thing that we have input on is who we vote for. And then once they vote, they just do whatever it is that they want to. There's no accountability after they get voted in, and then it gets put back on us, and they say, well, we voted for these people. Yeah, I agree, DJ Elmo. The president directly commented on the pipeline's leaks after waving off a reporter's question on Thursday. You asked me earlier about pipelines, and let me say this. It was a deliberate act of sabotage, and now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies, Biden said. The president added with that we're working with allies to get to the bottom of exactly what precisely happened, and then promised at the appropriate moment when things calm down, we're going to be sending drivers down to find out exactly what happened. Just don't listen to what Putin is saying, Biden concluded. What he's saying we know is not true. The NATO alliance said Thursday that current available information indicates that the pipeline leaks are the result of deliberate, reckless, and irresponsible acts of sabotage, but refrained from directly assigning the blame. So now this is an international issue, right? This is an international issue, but what it sounds like is they're using, as Professor Black Truth says, weasel words. Because if they were so certain, why don't they just assign the blame? If you know exactly what happened, then just say what happened. Stop tap dancing around it. They tap dancing around it like Gregory Hines and shit. Joe Biden is sitting up here talking about a nuclear Armageddon. I told people not to vote for this dumbass. He's comfortable sitting up here talking about a nuclear Armageddon because his brain works like somebody already bombed his head. Biden's Armageddon talk edges beyond bounds of U.S. intel. That's nice. You know what I'm saying? Why you sitting up there talking about what somebody else is saying, and you sitting up here talking about the damn apocalypse and shit. Yeah, Joe Biden sitting up here saying all this kind of shit. I'm not comfortable with that. How many people are comfortable with Joe Biden sitting up here talking about the apocalypse, just throwing that around, knowing that these other countries are capable of nuclear war? These aren't just countries that are going to sit there and let you talk crazy because you are crazy. These are countries that are going to hit back. What do you guys think about that? Let me ask you guys a question. Let's just say that the United States decided, you know what we're going to do is we're going to work on a black agenda, and we're going to do what we can to try to get black people reparations. Do you think that Armageddon decreases the likelihood of that happening? That may sound like a stupid question, but a lot of times people just don't think of things like that. Sometimes people just don't think about that. That's a good point. I mean, shit. If a nuclear Armageddon happens, I mean, you know, not going to be too much else going on. Why would Russia blow up their pipeline when they can just shut it off? Right, which would tell you that somebody else probably did that, which is one of the reasons why they're not assigning blame. Because when things come out 5 to 10 years down the line, or just in case there's another Edward Snowden out there, we're going to look really bad. Facts. Gregory Hines was the man. So why is Biden sitting up here talking about Armageddon? President Joe Biden's warning that the world is at the risk of a nuclear Armageddon was designed to send an unvarnished message that no one should underestimate the extraordinary danger if Russia deploys tactical nuclear weapons in its war against Ukraine, administration officials said Friday. The president's grim assessment, delivered during a Democratic fundraiser on Thursday night, rippled around the globe and appeared to edge beyond the boundaries of current U.S. intelligence assessments. So why would the president do something like that? Why would the president do something like that? Yeah, I agree. We don't exactly have Einstein leading us. That's a fact. U.S. security officials continue to say they have no evidence that Vladimir Putin has imminent plans for a nuclear strike. So you have to ask yourself then, why is President Joe Biden just going around saying this? What's the strategy behind that? There has to be some kind of strategy or something, right? Right. Can't collect it if you're dead. Biden veered into a talk about Ukraine at the end of his standard fundraising remarks, saying that Putin was not joking when he talks about the use of tactical nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons. We have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis, he added. He suggested the threat from Putin is real because his military, as you might say, significantly underperforming. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Friday did not directly respond to a question about whether Biden had gone into the event intending to invoke Armageddon, as the White House sought to clarify the president's off-the-cuff comments. So again, my question is, like, do you guys think that that could have caused a public outrage or public fear? They say both governments have been stocking up on potassium iodine pills. Facts. Now, how many people know what potassium iodine pills are for? Yeah, his strategy, I believe, is to scare us, to make it seem real so that we support him in what he's saying. But nobody's dumb is the only problem. She told reporters Russia's talk of using nuclear weapons is irresponsible and there's no way to use them without unintended consequences. It cannot happen, she added, that if the Cuban Missile Crisis has taught us anything, it's the value of reducing nuclear risk and not brandishing it. Biden's national security team for months has warned that Russia could use weapons of mass destruction in Ukraine as it has faced a series of strategic setbacks on the battlefield. But the president's remarks were the starkest warnings yet by the U.S. government about the nuclear stakes. One U.S. official said Biden was also trying to warn against underestimating the danger any level of tactical nuclear weapons. There's some concerns in the administration that Russia has determined that it can use its nuclear arsenal in a manner short of full-blown nuclear attacks on Ukraine and face only limited reactions from the U.S. and Western allies who are determined to keep Ukraine conflict from turning into a broader war, according to the official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss administration thinking. Now, that makes sense. And that actually sounds like something that they may do. Facts, DJ Elmo. Radiation. Let me ask you guys a question about this. How real of a threat do you all think that this is? And I agree with AB Promotions. He's just babbling the first thing that comes to mind because that's what Joe Biden does, is babbles. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not smashed the like button, please make sure you guys take a moment and smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't shared the stream out, please make sure that you guys share the stream out. That would definitely help. Yeah, I agree. If you guys agree with Maine, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. There's not much danger from tactical nukes. There's danger from Putin losing his shit and nuking the U.S. Yeah. Absolutely. Putin has repeatedly alluded to using his country's vast nuclear arsenal, including last month when he announced plans to conscript Russian men to serve in Ukraine. I want to remind you that our country also has various means of destruction, and when the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, to protect Russia and our people, we will certainly use all the means at our disposal, Putin said. It's not a bluff. In Europe, leaders sought to turn down the volume after Biden's stark warning. Asked about Biden's remarks, French President Emmanuel Macron said that it was crucial to speak with care on the nuclear threat. I've always refused to engage in political fiction, and especially when speaking of nuclear weapons, Macron said at the EU summit in Prague. On this issue, we must be very careful. European Council President Charles Michel told reporters that leaders take every escalation very serious. Threats will not intimidate us, Michel said. Instead, we are going to remain calm. We are going to keep cool heads, and we will each time denounce the irresponsible character of these threats. Jean-Pierre reiterated on Friday that the U.S. has not seen any reason to adjust our own strategic nuclear posture, nor do we have indications that Russia is preparing to imminently use nuclear weapons. So, like, my thing is like, they created all of this hype as a result of some reckless verbiage that Joe Biden said. And I do agree with what Thomas is saying. It's real. The world is tired of the U.S. Facts. There's people in the U.S. that are tired of the U.S. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, DJ Elmo. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. It's not the first time that Biden's comments have appeared to push against the margins of U.S. policy. Last month, Biden, in a CBS 60 Minutes interview, said U.S. forces, U.S. men and women, would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. The White House said after the interview that U.S. policy towards Taiwan hasn't changed. That policy says Washington wants to see Taiwan's status resolved peacefully, but doesn't say whether U.S. forces might be sent in response to a Chinese attack. So Biden is out here writing a lot of checks that his demented ass can't cash. Do you think people are getting tired of that? I know. How dare Putin and Z, right? How dare Kim Jong-un? How dare any of these other countries stand up to the United States? You know what I'm saying? How dare anybody stand up to the United States? If you stand up to the United States, you're evil and you're an imperialist. Something's wrong with you. You're the problem because, you know, just like the people who live in the United States, the majority of them, the United States never did anything wrong ever. We're the heroes. In March, as he wrapped up a speech in Warsaw, Biden seemed to call for the ouster of Putin, saying, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Before Biden could even board Air Force One to begin flight back to Washington, aides were scrambling to clarify that he wasn't calling for an immediate change in government in Moscow. I don't think that that would go over very well at all. But this is how, like, we just see the small stupid things that Biden does. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just see the small stupid things that Biden does. We don't see the big dumb stuff that Biden does. Like, this is big. We see all the stuttering, we see all the stupidity, you know what I'm saying? We see all of that dumb stuff. We don't see this because they don't talk about this in the mainstream media. There's not a lot of places where you can get some good international news. Matter of fact, let me ask you guys a question. When it comes to international news, where do you all get most of your international news from? Now, here it says earlier that month, Biden called Putin a war criminal for the Russian onslaught in Ukraine before the White House walked back the comments. The White House had been avoiding applying the word war criminal label to Putin because it requires an investigation and an intercontinental determination. After Biden used the term, his then press secretary, Jen Psaki, said the president was speaking from his heart and clarified that the administration acknowledged there's a process for making a formal determination. So, like, if it's not for these press secretaries, Biden is out here just leaving a trail of mucus like a human slug. Like, he's just leaving a trail of mucus like a human slug. So now here it says, as for Biden's latest eyebrow-raising remarks, people sort of say, oh, yeah, it's Biden. You know, he says this stuff. And in my opinion, that's not acceptable. That is not acceptable. That, oh, yeah, it's Biden, that particular bullshit line right there, that's the same line people use to excuse white supremacist racism. Oh, yeah, well, you know, they grew up in a certain time, you know. You know this person, you know what I'm saying? They're opinionated, you know. Yeah, facts. A black woman had to save Biden. That would be like the second time, right? But overseas countries are saying, whoa, this is what the United States president says. And so that means we have to really be careful about using big words, which is something that Biden has an extremely difficult time doing. That in themselves can escalate nuclear tensions unintentionally. Biden's strong choice of words could have an unintended impact with Russia. Christensen said the biggest problem with the president's latest comments. It's quite clear to me that Putin will be looking at this and say to himself, wow, I got their attention now, so they're really afraid. And I mean, again, President Biden does not really have a good strategic poker face. You know what I'm saying? He made this comment recklessly, and all of the other world leaders jumped on him. What are you doing, man? You know what I'm saying? So here is my question. My question is, out of everything that we talked about today, and if you guys are watching on the replay and you make it this far, shout out to the replay viewers. Make sure you guys leave comments after the video. My question is, out of everything that we've talked about in this live stream today, did you see one reason to vote for Joe Biden or any Democrat again? If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the stream. I appreciate each and every one of you guys who stayed and watched all the way through. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button. Share this video out to all of your followers. Make sure that you're subscribed to all of the backup channels and my social media. And I will catch you all on the next video. All right? Peace.